And Madonna, I want to start with you. You were one of the first nurses that was working with Drew. Talk about kind of what it was like first seeing him and the condition he was in, and what it took for you to really focus in on him and be there for him.
Well, we initially received the call. We have a Clay County Sheriff's officer stationed in our ER at all times, and we got a call. They came into the ER and they said, look, we have a trauma coming in and it's a federal officer. And we were like, okay, so we did everything that we do for any trauma patient that comes into our facility. We get the trauma bay ready. We start anticipating what we're gonna need. We were forewarned that he had been shot multiple times. We were told that he was awake and alert, but that he was slowly declining. So we anticipated, we got him into the bay. When he came in, there were tons of people with him. So we were doing crowd control, getting him in the recess bed, getting the initial vital signs, talking to him. And the first thing I remember was him coming in, he was telling me, he looked at me and my partner, Todd, which is the other trauma resus nurse, and he said, I'm gonna live. I said, oh yes you are. Absolutely, you're not gonna die today. And then very shortly after that, I saw his cell phone was ringing. And it hung up, and then another call, and I turned to the caseworker and I said, you gotta answer this. I think it's his wife calling. I just had that confirmation. I knew, like, she was trying to get the answers, trying to find out what was gonna go on. And we quickly did our initial primary and secondary surveys, and we moved him to the CT scanner where he declined pretty rapidly, and swiftly we moved to the OR. And I was in on that process for the first operation. And then we moved in, we brought him to the ICU, and we worked together. We were on the day shift, and we knew something wasn't right. We consulted Dr. Sarakaglu and our oncoming attending trauma surgeon, Dr. Siatat, and we suggested that we go straight back to the OR, and we moved back to the OR where we spent hours into the next night. So.
And you stayed, maybe all three of you, 17 hours you told me. Yeah. You didn't have to do that. You made that decision on your own. Why did you feel that you needed to stay?
It was just a sense of obligation and duty. I mean, he could be my brother, he could be my father. I saw how sick he was, and it didn't matter. Time is just, it's just that, and I wanted him to have more. So Madonna and I were looking at each other, and the night shift nurses, it was actually busy in the unit at that time. There was no reason that I couldn't be extra hands on deck. We're both really good teamwork together. We don't have to be chaotic, and it was a lot of eye contact going back and forth, rapidly moving. And I recall very swiftly pushing Drew, running this machine that was pushing blood in him to the OR. And we looked at each other and we're like, we're in. And just going, and the scene of seeing them working so fast, and it's just like it's a blur. I mean, there were people running back and forth trying to get blood and run the mass transfusion protocol, and then we swapped roles, and she took over the mass transfusion and I took over running all the ICU drips to titrate to keep his blood pressure. And at one point I just recall hearing, you know, there's communication between the physicians, but we looked up and we heard, oh my gosh, you know, what are we gonna do? And I heard, keep sewing, keep sewing. And I saw that he had gone into a very bad heart rhythm, and I looked at Madonna and I was like, not now. And she told me later she heard me say not now, and we all started praying. And you could just feel, and I was like, he's not gonna die. And we all stayed, and at one point when after running multiple times back and forth, we were trying to get everything ready, and I knew they were done, and I was like, let's clean him up and let's go. And I told Amanda, you know, I don't think she recalled this, but coming out of the OR, there were so many people, and we're trying to safely get him navigated through, and she just looked at me and she said, he's my world every day. Thank you for making him your world today. And I just, that feeling, and everybody cheering and chanting, let's go, Drew, let's go, Drew. It's just, you'll never forget it, ever. And I texted her at some point in midnight and said, I know you're asleep, but I got somebody for you that you got to take care of. And
which unfortunately I had already seen the news, so I knew what I would be anticipating the next day at work. And without a doubt in my mind, I was ready to take care of Drew.
How did you prepare yourself to come in, and what was it like by the time you got here?
Same as I do every day, just drink my coffee and walk in with a smile, ready to save some lives. The scene that I can't get out of my mind is when I did walk into work the next morning to receive report from the night shift, is when I walked in and I peeked into Drew's room and I saw him sedated and intubated in the room, and his wife Amanda, his dad, and his uncle were all laying over his bed praying. So I knew it was like time to get serious, get some work done that day.
And just for the few minutes I've seen you three in the same room as Drew, I can tell that you all have a relationship with him. Talk about how that formed and how you not only were there by his side giving him medical care, but you also formed this bond.
It's easy to do in the ICU because the patients coming in are critical, near death, and it's our job, it's our responsibility to keep them alive along with the physicians and the rest of the team. So when you have somebody in the ICU with you day in and day out for weeks at a time, it's easy for them to become like your family.
It's your family, it is your family. And they depend on us not just to do the physical healing per se, but it's an emotional, it's a spiritual journey. And, you know, Amanda and I and Drew went up a lot of different roller coasters, days where I'm sure he thought that we were killing him, literally, hurting him and trying to push him to not hurt him, but to get him up, to get him to move, and having to not give him food because it was safe for him. And, you know, we joke about the eye of the tiger, but his wife and I would play songs because he was going to have the eye of the tiger and we were going to pass, you know, and it was whatever you had to do to make him happy, you know. You got to keep that emotional spirit. So,
in fact, Christy is like our sunshine nurse. Like, you can't go a day without working with her without a smile on your face. And I remember telling Drew at one point, you know, you can't be negative if Christy loves your nurse. Like, you're not going to have any negativity in this room. I said, trust me, I've known her for 2 years. I've tried. And Drew just laughed so hard, and it was so nice to see his personality start to come through in those moments.
it's true.
And he just had a phenomenal support system.
Absolutely.
I spent the entire week I was here, that first week, and following up with him and working with Amanda, just the support system from their co-workers, from the Border Patrol officers to the Clay County Sheriff's Department's pulling shifts, to Amanda and Chili's providing meals, even for us nurses that were spending hours and hours at the hospital, making sure we had everything in order, making sure that everything went right, making sure that we were double checking charts, watching the labs, making sure all the procedures went appropriately. It was a team, a true team effort in this case. This is what trauma is about. This is what we do. And to do it for somebody that gives us so much back, for somebody that protects us and defends our country, and for us to be able to give just that little bit back, that's why we stayed. We knew something was wrong, and we knew we needed to stick together and be there for our team here and for their team. They stood by us the whole time. And I thought that was phenomenal about this experience. That's unique. I mean, we do it for every single trauma patient. We treat everyone the same. Everyone comes in as an unknown patient. They're a patient, we know what's wrong, and we treat them. But this, as time passed and we got to know Drew, we got to know Amanda, we got to know the officers with him, it became, it was like coming home every day to work. Yeah. And it was unique in that opportunity to just be able to serve and to watch him and to help him through the process. We had up days and we had the down days, and we told him, we're in this together. We're gonna make it, one step in front of the other. And I told Amanda, you gotta get rest. The hardest days are coming.
He's our temporary, he's your forever. So we tell everybody that, and they're like, what? We're like, no, for real. He's our temporary, he's your forever.
Yeah.
And so you have to think it through. And I want to thank everybody with the community as well with the blood bank and donating blood. I've never seen so many people.
It was incredible.
I mean, ever. They had to come back a second day. There were so many people that were willing to give blood, and we used it a lot, not just for him, but that night we also had several other traumas. So it was a community event that, you know, really needed to come together, and I'm proud to work here with them. And
yeah. And the mass transfusion, I mean, Drew received 14 and a half rounds of our MTP protocol. within our MTP protocol comprises of 4 units of packed red blood cells, 4 units of FFP, and then plasma and cryo. So he received 14 and a half rounds of that. And just when we were coming out, rushing to the second surgery, and I remember coming out, and I was like, we got to get blood. I looked at her. I mean, we worked together very fluently, flawlessly almost. We sense each other, and you learn that team environment, and you start to learn without having that verbal communication, like what you move in sync. You just learn how to move. And the officers lined up. We have people ready. We
They
have
wanna
people
donate blood.
here.
Let's go, let's
we,
go.
We see that you guys are running for blood, and I mean, we were running for blood. And just the support system was just, there was no way to fail because
It wasn't an option.
we didn't allow it to be an option. Like, nobody was going to let it happen. We had every resource available inside and outside the facility. It was true testament of teamwork from multiple dynamics and aspects.
Including the OR team as
Oh,
well.
yes, fantastic.
There were anesthesiologists, OR nurses, and surgical techs that frequently checked on Drew in his room. Initially, in the beginning, I took care of Drew a lot. I actually signed up for overtime the first week he was here to make sure that I stayed and took care of him and Amanda. And the OR team was in his room every day checking on him.
Yep. Everybody. He never had. We would have to push people away so that he could get rest because it was just a constant. When I say on guard and somebody keeping watch over their flock, he had a lot of people watching his flock. So it was a good.
When you have somebody that comes in with such a significant, critically traumatic injury such as Drew.
He's a miracle. I mean, this is a Christmas miracle. He is. I mean, truly.